Good noon everybody. Today we people are going to discuss about operating systems. The talk today is concerned with what are operating systems, what are the goals of operating systems, functions of operating systems, what different type of operating system we are having, and further we are going to discuss that where the operating system resides in the computer and how we use the computer operating system. We are also going to discuss about the types of operating system, their analysis, likewise for the palm top operating systems which is used for the handheld devices, and in general for Windows operating system which is used for the desktop devices. We are going to discuss it in a very precise way. So going to our past talk, what that is about the fundamentals of the hardware and the software, let's know what operating systems are. We had discussed that the operating systems are nothing but the system softwares. There are two types of softwares: the application softwares and the system softwares. System softwares are the low-level programming language softwares which make the hardware usage or the compatibility of using the hardware by the user quite easy. So the system softwares are further classified into different categories, like assemblers, linkers, loaders, compilers, operating system. So operating system is the foremost important system software which makes the usage of hardware in quite an easy way. And again, the operating system is classified into two categories. That is, it has got two components: the system, that is the shell, and the kernel. Now, what is shell? In the very first slide you must be seeing that there is a figure shown over here where the user is going to interact with the shell, and inside there is a concentric sphere where we are saying that it's the operating system, in fact the kernel, which is having all the components to have file management, memory management, networking and network handling, user authentication, and all those stuff is being handled by the kernel. So what for shell is? The shell is for, in fact, the interactivity of the user with the environment. So there are two types of interactivities. I hope you know that there are two types of interactivities: graphical user interfaces and character user interfaces. Most probably you had worked with the disk operating system, that is DOS, which is character based. You need to use the commands like edit or copy or delete and all that stuff you need to do to work out with the operating system. But same is true with the Windows operating system, in which you need to click on some icons to get the job done. So the environment in which you are supposed to click on the icons to get the job done is nothing but a graphical interface, and the thing in which you are supposed to interact with the characters to make the operating system run is nothing but your character user interface. So let's go to our next slide. Here this is already discussed that today in today's talk we are going to discuss about these type of components, the type, goals, important terms like multitasking, multi-threading, multiprocessing, all that stuff, and how the operating system run. Secondly, this thing is also discussed right now that there are two types of software: application software, system softwares, which are again classified into operating systems, having two types, two components, shell and the kernel. Now in my past talk I had already discussed that without the software, the hardware is nothing but a piece of metal. It is only a body. So the software is the soul of the hardware, and software is classified into two categories: the system software and the application software. So what for the operating system is? Operating system, I had already discussed that it is a low level program. It is a collection of programs that acts as an interface for a computer user to make the user usage of hardware quite easy. So actually the operating system is viewed as a resource manager. There are different resources available. Memory devices are there, output devices are there, input devices are there, memory is there. So if there is a mismanagement about the usage of these devices, these resources, then obviously some conflict will arise and the system may hang, or there might be a situation of deadlock or starvation. So operating system actually controls the coordinates of the resources. So major purpose of the operating system is to provide the environment to the user which makes it to execute programs and makes it to use the hardware quite conveniently. So this is the figure which I am showing to you, that there are different users, user 1 to n are there. Some of them are running the system softwares like compilers, assemblers, text editors, database systems, which are running with the application systems. Now what are application softwares or application programs? These are the software which run on the system softwares, and they use the system softwares to get the job done. So after that we are having a system software, that is your operating system, which is making the usage of hardware quite easy. Now over here we have shown that there are two things, that the compiler and the assembler. Now what assembler is? Assembler is a language translator. Assembler is a language translator that translates the user interface data into machine understandable format, and it is also a low level program, and so it is a system software. So the main goal of the operating system is to be considered as the most efficient usage of the hardware by the user in a very convenient way. Because if we are not having the operating system, by how we can use the monitor, how we can use the memory management, how we can go for memory management and all that stuff. So the whole responsibility is given to the software, which is known as operating system. Language translation and linking and loading and all those things are given to, these tasks are given to other software like assemblers, linkers, loaders, and so the job of the operating system is to control the resources and to have an interface with the computer hardware and the programmer, because it is the only interface which makes the programmer to use the hardware conveniently. So the goal, while having an interface, the operating system has to perform several functions, which these are shown into the figure, like input output management, security and protection of the system softwares and hardwares, file management, memory management, networking, user interfacing, communications, process management, and there are many more functions which are not shown over here. They are related to different type of operating systems. So these are all some of the few functions which are performed mainly by the operating system in general. So operating system, the development of operating system is not a single step process. As and as the hardware grows on, because what operating system is, it is a software, it is a system software that makes the compatibility of the user to interact with the hardware in an efficient and systematic way. So as the time grows on, we find that the hardware components are changing quite fast. Likewise, in the prior situation, in the very first generation, we were having only vacuum tube diodes were there, vacuum tubes were there. After that, the technology was transformed to transistors and then to ICs in the LSI format, that is large scale integrated ICs, and then it was transformed to very large scale VLSI format. So in the VLSI format, we are having two generations, that is the fourth generation and the fifth generation. In the very first generation, the situations, the input output devices were nothing but your punch cards, and it was the system which we were having was only UNIVAC. So it was quite slow system, and the operating system used over here was mono-programmed operating system. It was a standalone operating system which was supposed to work for only a single machine, which was UNIVAC at that very moment. Later on, as the technology was changed to the transistors, so the operating system which was meant for the usage of your vacuum tube diodes was no more in usage. So we need to develop some more operating system which are quite compatible with the transistor technology. So IBM come forward and it gives a mono-programmed batch processing operating system, which was based on the batch processing stream. We will discuss what batch processing is in the coming slides. Further, in the third generation, when ICs come into the picture and the system was transformed into large scale integration devices, again further the IBM came again forward and it provides you IBM OS 360. And in this situation, we were capable to do some jobs like spooling, multi-programming, multitasking, virtual memories, and these jobs, these terms might be not understandable to you right now, but in the coming slides you will be able to understand what these terms mean. And as again the hardware technology was developed to VLSI, then the more recent operating systems like MS-DOS and Unix were arrived. And after that, since the adaptability to achieve fastness of the processor, so more fast and more integrated VLSIs were available, and then arrived the operating systems which work for real-time operations, parallel computing. So these operating systems arrive into the picture. Now the different operating systems which we are having in the scenario are batch processing, time sharing, real-time operating system, multi-programming, multi-processing, network operating, distributed, and operating systems for the embedded devices. Embedded devices operating systems are very important nowadays, because in every moment everybody is using mobiles. So mobiles are handheld devices or PDAs or palm top computers. So these are the handheld devices. To embed an operating system to make use of their hardware, it is very important. To how to use their hardware is a core criteria, is a very hot topic nowadays, and different operating systems are available. Likewise, in Nokia 7250i we are having Java enabled systems, but in Nokia 3250 we are having Symbian operating systems. So far as palm top devices are there, we are having palm operating systems, and different versions are over there. We will discuss them in the coming slides. So let's discuss about very first topic, that is batch processing. What do you mean by batch processing? It is not a complicated term. Likewise, say you go to some institution for submission of form. There are two ways that a person accepts your form one by one and processes it at the runtime, and the other way is that person collects all the forms at a moment, processes them one by one, and gives the output simultaneously. The second way is nothing but your batch processing, in which the jobs are collected, jobs are submitted to a central place, and then the jobs are collected into the batch and placed into the input queue of the computer where they will run. But the key point to be noted over here, that there is no user interactivity over here. So batch processing operating systems are not user interacting, and the response time is nothing but your time, is your turnaround time, which is the time required for the submission of the job to the execution of the job, and till the job completed job is ready for the results to be used by the user. The figure shown below gives a graphical idea of how batch processing system environment works. There are two domains, the user domain and the machine domain. The user submits the job into the job queue. The job queue forwards the data for job execution to the processor, and as and when the jobs are executed, the results are available for the user to use. Now, second foremost important operating system which is also used nowadays is time sharing operating system, in which each job is given a time slice. Likewise, the first scenario, as I discussed, that say you are submitting your telephone bills. You are into the queue. The person handles receives your bill, receives payment, processes your bill, and makes you to go. If the bill is not complete, he says that you just fill in the data and then give it to me. Then as and when your job is done, you go to the person and you get your job done. So a proper time slot is given to each and every customer, and the job is done. So over here, different processes, very many processes can run concurrently, and each process is given a different type slot. So over here, the different in the slide we are showing that the CPU, memory, and all these things are used concurrently by the users, and it is the operating system which facilitates the usage, the monitoring, and control of the resources in a concurrent environment. But other thing to be noted over here, that time sharing environment is having full interaction with the user. The diagram over here is showing that there are user domain and the machine domain, and the program is under execution, and there is interactivity in between the user and the control. So practically how you interact, say example is you are running a program and the program is running indefinitely. You want to stop the program. What you do in general Windows environment, you press Ctrl Alt and Delete, and your task manager pops up, and from the task manager you select the prospective job and the process. So you are interacting with the environment in the runtime mode. So this technology is nothing but your preemption. That means to snatch out, to remove the data forcefully from the processor which you don't want to process. So, and whatever data you want to process is available to the processor in different time slots. The figure in the next slide is showing you that there are two type of processes, say process A and process B are there in the memory. It's a proper time slot is given to each process, and within that time slot the process is being executed by the processor, and concurrently there is a switching in between the processes from process A to process B. So in time sharing environment, there is this time slicing technique which involves dividing the CPU computer cycles into different time slots, and within every time slot the different job is performed. So the next operating system is real-time operating system. The real-time operating system is very important for the situation where the time is a very critical issue. You need to perform each and every job in a very precise interval. If the job is not performed, their processing is not able to perform in the coming scenario. Likewise, the pipelining systems, the parallel processings in which the job are to be performed in exact time interval. The most important example is, say you go to ATM, you insert your card. The moment you insert your card, your smart card interacts, have a connection with the database in the bank, say ICICI or IDBI or any other bank, and simultaneously the authentication and all those stuff is being checked, that whether you are an authorized user or not. So the moment the transaction is completed, you withdraw your money or you check whatever data you want to have it from the ATM, you want to log out. The moment you withdraw your card from the ATM, the task is that you need to remove the connection from the database of the bank. At the same time, your authentication or privacy is to be removed from the current memory location, so that no other person can check that what was your password, what was your identity, and these two jobs are to be done simultaneously. If one is done, one is not done, then there might be a situation that some hacker or some other person may trace out where your data is, and there might be a problem. So in this type of situation, you need to take care with the real-time operating system, where the time is the essence. So in real-time operating system, there is user interface, but the user interface is quite little in situation, quite little, because if you are having a heavy user interface, then most of the time the processor will be busy in handling the user. So the time, as it is already discussed, that the time is a critical issue in the real-time operating system, so user interface has to be minimum in nature. So the key part of the operating system is the resource management and for time-bound operation execution. Now, multi-programming and multi-processing operating systems are over here. Now, what do you mean by multi-programming operating system? As the name itself suggests that there are very many programs which are running simultaneously. So the memory as a whole is being fragmented. Say over here in the example we had shown you that there is 512K of the memory which is fragmented, which is partitioned into several slots. In one slot we are having operating system, in other slots we are having different jobs which are residing, and the CPU starts executing the job. If the job is under the waiting situation, then CPU switch over to the next job. It is no more supposed to wait for the job which is in the waiting situation. So that type of environment is nothing but is a multi-programming environment where many programs are residing in the memory and they are enjoying the privilege of having the partition of a memory. Now, what is multiprocessing environment? The multiprocessing environment is a hardware situation in which there are very many processors available and many processors are executing a job. So this hardware configuration that includes more than one independent processing unit, this type of environment is a multiprocessing environment. Although the multi-programming and multiprocessing environment are also the part of the time sharing environment, because in each type of operating system you are providing a memory slot, you are providing a time slot either to a process, either to the processor or to the program to enjoy the privilege of using a processor. So both of the environments are time sharing operating system environments. Other important terms are your multi-threading and multitasking. What multi-threading means? Multi-threading means that you are running different part of the softwares concurrently. That means, say you open Microsoft Windows. Within the Microsoft Windows you are opening different documents simultaneously. Many documents are opened. So same software, different copies of the same softwares are performed. So this type of environment is multi-threading. Now, what is multitasking? It is a multitasking environment in which multiple softwares are allowed to run at the same time, and it is nothing but the extension of the multi-programming, but it needs user interactivity. How the user interacts in the multitasking environment is through the keyboard, through mouse, as if I am interacting with the system right now. I am clicking on the mouse and the slide is changing, so the environment is nothing but your multitasking. As and when with the processor there are many programs running simultaneously. So the multitasking environment, there are two types of multitasking environment. In fact, there are preemptive and cooperative. So preemptive is, as it is already discussed, that control alt delete, that is forceful snatching of the resources from the hardware is preemption. That means in this type of environment, the operating system is capable to control the process execution by the CPU. But in the cooperative environment, the operating system cannot stop the execution of the process. Once the controls are transferred to the CPU, then the job is accomplished, and then only the results will be available. So in between, in the cooperative environment, no other process is allowed to be accessed by the CPU, whereas in the preemptive situation, you can remove and you can interact with the CPU. Now, other type of operating system over here is your network operating system, generally preferred as NOS. So Windows, NT, Linux, Red Hat and Mandrake are the operating systems, and there are very many more operating systems which can configure for the network environment. As the functions of the operating system were concerned, in this type of environment, the emphasis on the function, that is the network handling, the user authentication, authorization, security, and these purposes are quite emphasized in this type of operating system, because being on the network, there are very many computers connected to the are interconnected. So the resources of many computers are being handled by the operating system at runtime. So being at runtime, it is very difficult that there might be a situation that some intruder may want to do some mischief with the system. So to handle that type of situation, we need to emphasize on the security, protection and all that stuff, and they are emphasized in the network operating system, where many computers are interconnected. In this type of environment, say we are having Windows 98, we are having Windows 2000, but why we prefer Windows NT? Because NT is specifically meant for the networking. It is having NTFS type of environment. It is not having FAT32 format. FAT32 format is quite easy to be intruded by the intruder, but NTFS format is not that easy. So Windows NT is specially meant for the networking environment. But the fundamental network operating system is not different from the single operating system, likewise Windows 98 or any other operating system. The difference is that it is having some network interface card, which is making this operating system to have interactivity with many machines simultaneously. Now, other operating system is your distributed operating system. There is a difference in between the distributed environment and the network environment. In networked environment, you are having a central server, so it is a centralized system. But in a distributed system, there is no central server. It is a multi-processing environment. In fact, there are very many processes, and the distributed operating system is making the load, the jobs available for the computers to be distributed among the processors which are available in any of the format. Likewise, mesh configuration is there, ring topology is there, star topology is there. There are different topologies in which the different computers might be connected. There might be a hybrid topology in which we are having a combination of ring and mesh and other topologies where different computers are connected, but we are not having any centralized server, centralized system. We are simply utilizing the processors of the computers which are available at any time. So it is the distributed operating system which distributes the job, which takes care of the job to distribute uniformly among the different processors attached to the topology, which might be any of the topology. And the major important thing to be noted in the distributed environment, that user never knows where the job is done. It is assuming as if the job is the data and the database or whatever the processor is available is on the system on which it is working, but in fact the job is being executed somewhere else, or the data is being processed somewhere else and the output is available to you. So this type of environment is distributed environment. It's especially used in the situations where likewise satellite launching is there, where you need to do different times. Likewise your airline reservation is there, railway reservation is there. These type of systems are distributed because there are different stations. At every station you are reserving the tickets, you are withdrawing your seats, you are not cancelling your reservation. So at runtime at every station the database, the situation is changed. So how every computer is supposed to understand how many seats are available now and whether the seat is available or not. This is being handled for such type of environment by the distributed operating systems. So here we had, in the next slide, we had explicitly compared the network operating system with the distributed operating system. In the network operating system, the user is well aware that where the data is and where the data is to be executed, and from where he can cache the data, hold off, and to transfer the files on its own. But in the distributed environment, although there are many processors, but the data is not centralized. The data is revolving anywhere in the chain, in the topology, and it seems to the user as if the job is available onto the system in which it is performing. So this is the very important issue, that in the distributed environment is not meant for the centralized topologies. So last operating system is embedded operating systems. As I had already discussed, that there are different systems for handheld devices, PDAs, mobile phones, palm top devices. So even our day-to-day life, likewise, you are having fuzzy logic onto your washing machines, you are having fully automatic toasters, grillers, OTGs. So they are also hardwares. Washing machine is also hardware. So making it automatic, how the hardware will understand that the clothes are washed or not. So you need to embed some software, but the software will be an application software. But how the application software will control the hardware? It will be through the operating system. So there are different operating systems which are devised to control the day-to-day life machines: toasters, washing machines, mobiles, PDAs, laptops. So not laptops, laptop is for desktop part. So the operating systems, the latest operating system is Symbian, which is used for 3230, Nokia 3230, and Java is also not back. We are having J2ME environment, which works to provide Java enabled handsets, which again work on Symbian operating systems. So Java acts as an application software which works for operating systems, Symbian, and we are having Palm operating system. We are also having Windows is also not back. We are having Windows NT embedded, Windows, Microsoft Windows CE, which are the systems for the handheld devices. So in the very beginning, this figure was shown to you, that and it comprises of the components of the operating system. There are two components. One is shell and other is your kernel. Now it is the shell which is making interactivity of the user with the actual operating system, that is your kernel. And the kernel is that part of the operating system which performs your file management, device driver handling, memory management, schedulers and dispatchers. We will discuss these functions of the kernel in the coming slide. Now, what shell is? Shell is providing the user interface. Now there are two types of user interface which are already discussed: the graphical user interface and the character user interface. DOS and Unix, you need to compile C version, say you need to compile C program, you do cc file name .c. So in this Unix environment, or there are in Linux there are both interfaces: character user interface and guided user interface, graphical user interface, in which you are having KDE environment and GNOME environment. These are graphical user interface environment, whereas the character user interface environment works simply like as for Unix. One of the environment is, say you want to compile the C program, you use CC. You want to move the program from one situation to another, you need to use the command move. You need to compile C++ program, so you use GCC version of the compiler. So these commands are to be known, are to be memorized by you. In DOS you are having edit and all that stuff. So these commands are making the use of the hardware in an easy way. So the moment you're using the commands explicitly to use the hardware is a character user interface. The moment you're using the icons on which you click and the job is performed is graphical user interface. So there are different functions of the kernel. We will discuss them one by one right now. The file management, as you already know that in files there are directories, paths. The moment you load any software, if the wizard is running in a graphical user interface, it will automatically ask you whether you want to load it on the C program files or you want to load it anywhere else. So if you want to load it anywhere else, you need to browse the path, and if you don't want to browse the path, the default path is C:program files. So it is the operating system which is guiding the software to be loaded, to provide the path, to provide the directory, to have the description of the file. So these jobs are performed by the kernel. Again, the other thing is memory management. Now say you are providing some inserting your CD. So how the data is moving from secondary storage to the primary storage and to the processor to execute. So this shuffling of the data is performed in the form of pages. These are the fixed slot memory spaces which are interchanged in between the secondary and the primary storage devices, and as and when the data is available into the primary storage devices, it is being executed by the processor. So there are few more things are over here. We need to do some mathematical calculation to calculate the hit ratio and the miss ratio. What is hit ratio? Say the data is not available into the primary memory, so you need to transfer the data from secondary memory. The processor is supposed to hunt in the primary memory. If the data is not available in the primary memory, it is miss. So if it is miss, the data is somewhere in the secondary memory. So the data is supposed to transfer from the secondary memory into the primary memory, and when the data is accessible to the processor, this is a hit. So larger the hit ratio, the faster the processing is. So because of this hit and miss, you need to have swapping of the data from secondary to the primary. So this swapping of the data is done in the form of pages. Other important thing is virtual memory. You need to understand what buffer is. You need to understand what virtual memory is. So virtual memory is nothing but an illusionary memory space. So I give you an example. Say you are working with MS Word. So you open an already written file, your resume. So you do some editing into it, and say suddenly you don't save it, and you want to close the application. So what a message will appear, this document is not saved. Do you want to save it? So if the document is not saved and you are performing the job, then where you are performing the job? The thing is, this is a temporary storage in which you perform the job, and the moment your job is done, you save it, and the moment if you press that it is saved, then it is saved into the actual memory storage. So in between the actual memory storage and the user, there is some temporary, the illusionary memory, which is your buffer, which is your virtual memory, in which you perform the data, and if the data is executed, the data is saved, then it is passed on to the main memory. So other important functions are your schedulers and dispatchers. So there are process tables. As processor is supposed to execute very many processes simultaneously, reading processes, writing processes, waiting processes, priority scheduling, and so there are the component which handles the process handling. The process handling is done by a process table. So explicitly a process table is made that which processes arrived. So there are different algorithms to perform these processes. There are the algorithm like FIFO, shortest job first, round robin algorithm. These are the algorithms which are processed, which are being executed by the scheduler to make the process table, to provide that which job, say the shortest job first, the process executing a very long job and a job arrived which takes only a fraction of a second, then it is better to if it is supposed to wait, if that job is supposed to wait, it will starve and it will end. So it will be better that the operating system judges that this job can be executed at the priority, and the processor just executes the job and produces the result, and that process is no more in the waiting list. So that type of job is done by the scheduler. Now again, the dispatcher is there. Now what the job of dispatcher is, the dispatcher is supposed to provide the time slice. as it is already discussed that in the time sharing environment the processes are there, and to each and every process if a time slot is assigned, that assignment of time slot is the job of the dispatcher, and in that very slot the job is supposed to be performed, and whatever amount of job is done is saved, and after that time slot the job is switched over to the next job, and that job is performed, and sequentially the jobs are performed, and in a one by one format, say in the round robin algorithm format, or SJF or FIFO or LRU. So in this format is the jobs are executed and dispatched by the operating system. Now my question is to you, that you people are already working with the operating system from so long time, say you interacted with Windows or you interacted with any other operating system where operating system resides. My question is with you is this: since it is an operating software, the moment you switch on the system, some 8086, some configurations of your system arrive onto the screen, onto your monitor, and then the operating system is available, say Windows 98 or Windows NT or XP screen arrives, and then your desktop and all that stuff arrives. So the moment you switch off your system, where the operating system goes? Actually the operating system at no situation, the system in the off mode, the operating system resides in your hard disk. So what makes operating system to load into the main memory? It is BIOS. It's basic input output software, which is with the processor. The moment you switch on the system, the BIOS does the job of bootstrapping, which is the loading of operating system into the main memory. This job is performed by the BIOS, and this job is known as bootstrapping, and this makes the CPU this figure is quite explanatory, that there is a disk storage in which you are having the operating system. This disk storage is nothing but your hard disk, and in the runtime you are simply having a bootstrap in the ROM, and your volatile memory is empty. The moment you switch on the system, the operating system transfers from your disk storage, that is your hard disk, into the volatile memory, and rest of the memory space is available for other jobs which you can use for any other environment, multi-programming, multitasking, multiprocessing, or any other environment. So this is how the operating system works with. In off situation, it is with the hard disk, and the moment you switch on the system, it is loaded into the volatile memory, where it can be the moment it is loaded into the volatile memory, it can be used to interact by the user to interact with the hardware, and the jobs are loaded into the volatile memory. Now since there are processes, so you need to understand what process is. Process is a job to be executed by the processor, and each process has got some state, whether it is in a ready state, whether it is in the stopped state, or so process state table also matters. So these are some of the important terminologies which you need to understand to have a study of the operating system. Other important terminologies are your semaphores, critical regions, and mutual exclusion. What semaphore is, because of what is the purpose of operating system? Operating system is in fact a resource manager, because if resources conflicts, if there are say two softwares are there which are required to have an access of a single resource, then there might be a situation of starvation or deadlock or any other situation which make your process to not to work properly. So some things were devised to make operating system easy to handle your processes. One of the thing is your semaphore. Semaphore is a system in which whichever process wants to use the processor logs in and use the processor, and as and when the job is completed, it logs out, and the other process is supposed to use the processor. And the scheduling, the sequencing, as it is already discussed, is the job of the kernel, in fact the operating system, which judges out how much time is being required by the processor, and respectively the job is assigned to the processor, and the job is executed. Now other thing important is your critical region, which is nothing but a sequence instruction that should be executed by only one processor at a time, and it is in fact used by a semaphore. And mutual exclusion, that no two processes can interact the moment it is being one processor interacting with the processor, so other process should not interact at that very moment with the processor. That concept is your mutual exclusion. Now say the situation is that operating system is not efficient enough to manage the resources. In that very situation, deadlock, starving or crash of the disk may happen. So the very important thing is your deadlock. Deadlock is the situation in which the two processes block each other from continuing, and the conditions for deadlock are completion where say there are two non-shareable resources in which a resource which cannot be shared, and there are two processes which are needing the same resource to get their job done. So in that very situation, there might be a situation of deadlock. The figure is quite explanatory. Say there is a track and there are two rails trains, and none of the train can pass on, and the situation is hangout. So this type of situation is because of the non-shareable resources. Both of the rail tracks are non-shareable, so because of this none of the trains can pass out, and this make a situation of a deadlock. And same is the situation with the operating system. Two processes are there which want to share the same resource, and the resource is non-shareable. Then there is a situation of the deadlock. So what is the solution of deadlock? The solution of the deadlock is preemption or the spooling. Now what is preemption? Preemption is already discussed, that the forceful snatching of the resource from the processor is your preemption. Now what spooling is? Spooling is that you schedule out the job. Say some job is arriving, and you know that another process is using the non-shareable resource. So what you do is you delay the process which is arriving freshly. So if the process which is supposed to arrive right now is delayed, the process which is using the resource may execute its job, and the resource executes the job, and the resource become free. Now if the resource is free, the resource can be allocated to the fresh process. So the strategy to delay a process to use the non-shareable resource is your spooling. So there are different operating systems. There are desktop operating systems. Likewise for Windows we are having 98, NT, 2000, XP. Linux we are having Red Hat, Mandrake, and other versions are also available for Linux. Mac OS is also a desktop operating system which is using Linux and Mac OS X. These are the operating system for desktop environment. Now in a client server environment we are having two situations. A server is there and a client is there. Now client are supposed to interact with the server. They are supposed to send their request to the server. The server is supposed to handle the request sent by the clients. Now there are many clients, so the operating system of the server should be fast in comparison to the operating system of the clients. So the server operating systems are specially designed. There are different operating systems. Likewise from the Windows we are having Windows 2000 servers, Windows 2000 advanced servers for network operating server environment, NOS servers, and Windows 2000 data center servers. So these are some of the server environments. Again from the Sun Microsystems we are having a Solaris, which is a server process. So the client server environment need to use a combination of operating systems in which because at the server end you are having Windows 2000, at the client end you might be having some other operating system. So at the client end the requests are being handled by the desktop operating system. The situations which are the processes which are sent by the client to the server through networking are handled by the server, which is a quite fast operating system, and these requests are handled by the server and responded to the client. So other important devices, your embedded operating systems. There are some operating systems for the handheld devices: Windows CE, Palm OS, Symbian, and iApply. So iApply was actually the first handheld operating system, for 3G mobiles. 3G mobiles we are having different categories: GPRS, GSM, CDMA, and the latest technology is edge technology. So technology is changing. So as it is discussed with you that technology changed from vacuum tubes to transistors to VLSI. So hardware is changing. So operating system is also supposed to change. So IEEE was firstly meant for 3G environment. We are having an analysis of the Windows operating system. That NT version 4, which was introduced in 1994, was having an NTFS environment. It is quite reliable and secure. At the same time, Windows 2000 environment supports a variety of language independence. Likewise, and at the same time, Windows XP supports the LAN IEEE version 802.11b. So this is the analysis of the timeline of the operating system provided by the Microsoft. And other timeline for the handheld devices was from the Palm operating system. We are having Palm version 3.2, 4 and 5. The timeline sequences are shown into the figure. That version available in 98, the version 3.4, the language and peripheral support, whereas version 4 was wireless internet support, and version 5 is 128 data encryption environment. Now there are some operating systems: DOS, OS2s, Windows NT, Windows 2000, Unix and Novel NetWare. So these are some of the operating systems which are commercially available for execution of the different processes available with the processor. I hope you understand what operating system is, where it resides, how it works, what are generations, what are functions, and there are very many things which are to be discussed, which we will discuss later on in my coming presentations. Thank you.